Thanks for tuning in to more NFL talk on the Our Football Network as we handicap Week 2 in the NFL, starting with Thursday night's game between the Giants and that Washington football team with Ryan Dunleavy of the New York Post. How's it going, Ryan?
Good. I am usually wearing a collared shirt for this show, Greg.
Yeah, I don't
But
remember that.
almost always I wear a collared shirt. Yeah.
I'll
Um,
have to check back those videos.
if not, then like a nice plain t-shirt. But this one, I don't know if you could see it.
Las Vegas. That
Yes,
looks like it's like your is that what you like your favorite shirt that you wear to bed?
it's a very comfortable t-shirt I got while I was there, but I wore it tonight to take my lumps since Baltimore was my five-star upset last week, and you were pounding them for the playoffs, and I was mocking you both on the air and off. And
Oh, off the air behind my back. Oh.
but you were right. So here's my, this is like when two guys have a bet, two teammates have a bet, and Alabama Clemson, and the Clemson alum has to wear the Alabama jersey the next day to
Okay.
practice. That's what I'm doing.
So that's the closest thing you got to a Las Vegas Raiders jersey or
Yeah,
something.
I don't have any
Okay.
team. So.
Yeah. All right. That's only 1 week. That game could have went either way. But yes, I'll take it. By the way, we both did well on our picks last week. So we both if anybody took our picks last week, they made money. So good week. Good start to the NFL week as far as we're concerned. Actually, a lot of dogs I heard won last week. We'll find out. Usually that'll even out because that doesn't hold. But we'll see how it goes. It starts on Thursday night. Giants, you're going to be at that game. That's the reason we're doing this show on a Wednesday night, late on a Wednesday night, because you're heading down there tomorrow. And Washington's a 3.5-point favorite. The Giants have really dominated this series of late. Daniel Jones has never lost to Washington. He's 4-0.
He has 8 wins in his NFL career. 4 of them are against Washington.
Okay, that's wow. Joe Judge is actually now. Here's an interesting trend. You may say, it doesn't mean nothing, but there are some trends that mean something. Joe Judge is 5-0 against the spread when the Giants are a dog and they play a losing team. So basically, don't underestimate the Giants when they play inferior competition.
Washington is not inferior competition.
That's why I stood away from the game, because the Giants have all these trends working for them. But I kind of like the Washington more than I do the Giants, even with Heineke, because that kid's he's got a shot now. I wish him the best of luck. He's got his shot, and we'll see if he actually gets a real shot, and they don't go signing Cam Newton next week.
I feel terrible for Ryan Fitzpatrick. Every year he's got to be a caretaker for a rookie quarterback. He finally gets a job where he can make all 17 starts, and he gets hurt. It's just a terrible thing to happen to a really good guy.
Yeah, it was almost like it made you feel like the old Washington Redskins and Oakland Raider teams, where they grab these mid-30-year-old quarterbacks and they actually play well. And that was the remedy that was the formula they had. It just didn't work. Didn't even last. A series or two?
Yeah, it was unfortunate. This game, I think, even with Heineke, who people remember, he set the world on fire a little bit in the Bucs playoff game, making some crazy plays to kind of keep Washington in it. Washington's better than the Giants. They never beat the Giants, and you know how I feel about like betting trends and all. I do put some serious stock into the idea that it can be psychological.
A series, yeah.
Yes, I do think it can be psychological, that if a bad play happens for Washington, there's a little bit of, here we go again. Why can't we ever beat these guys? They're not very good. Why do they have our number? I do think that happens. So if it's a close game, you could see the Giants win it. I'm not sure it'll be a close game.
Well, the last 3 in the series have been decided by a total of 10 points.
Yep.
So they have been close recently. That Washington game against the Chargers, I don't know if you had an opportunity to watch it, but it was pretty ugly. There were 14 penalties combined for 151 yards and 3 turnovers. I mean, it was just a real ugly football game, and I was surprised at Washington's defense. We all know Herbert's a real good young quarterback, but Washington gave up, I think it was 14 of 19 on third down. That's crazy.
Yep.
And they almost still won Washington. And did you see that terrible call that they called the fumble on Herbert when he got sacked and the ball? They said the ball wasn't going forward, and it went all the way into the end zone. It was ridiculous. It was like his hand was going. I mean, I hate replay, and if that would have been a primetime game, 2 big teams like late in the afternoon, it would have been a major story. But especially because it was late in the game, but LA survived anyway, and the loser, Washington, New York, will go to 0-2. And the Giants will play Atlanta next week, so at least they have that. Washington will be in Buffalo. Okay, now let's talk about some of the other games. Buffalo and Miami. Let's talk about this one because this is actually one of my top plays. I like Buffalo in this one. The line makes sense. That's not it. It's just the fact. Look, I know Buffalo looked all sorts of weird, especially Josh Allen. The 51 passes. I mean, we talked about this in the preseason. Can you start running the football? I mean, you're really controlling most of the game until you let it go late, and you still threw the ball 51 times. I just don't understand the play calling in this with this team. But look, they're a better team than Miami. I have a hard time believing they're going to go to 0-2. They've beaten Miami 5 straight times. They killed them last year when they played Matt Barkley, and Miami needed to get to the playoffs. So Miami was outgained and outplayed by the Patriots, but turnovers and penalties, and that killed the Patriots. So I just think this is a good play. It's a safe play taking Buffalo.
Yeah, I agree. Coming off a season-opening loss, I agree. But I've told you before, I'm not. I think I picked the Steelers last week. I'm not.
Yeah, that was your upset pick.
Yeah, I'm not in the least bit surprised if Buffalo starts slowly buying into their hype and all. I won't be the least bit surprised. I think they're a good team. I think they'll be there at the end. But if they lost, I wouldn't be surprised. I didn't touch this game for a reason. I think Buffalo will win, but I won't be surprised if Miami does.
By the way, this is the only road game Buffalo is playing until Kansas City, Week 5 on October 10th. So they still have a lot. Even if they were to lose this game, their next 2 are at home against Washington and Houston. So they could be 2-2, just like that, and everything's fine. All right, Rams and Colts. Rams are a 4-point favorite in this one. And this is going to be a small upset play on my behalf. Colts are a plus 165 on the money line. This is an interesting matchup for the Rams because it's actually a little bit of a sandwich game. They got the hype of the first game and the first home game, and we're all psyched up, and national TV, and it's Stafford's first game. Next week, the Rams host Tampa Bay. So, a little bit of a sandwich game here. I actually thought Carson Wentz, all things considered, he hadn't played at all, played decently well. But boy, the one thing that he just continues to do all the time is hold on to the ball too long. He takes too many hits.
No, that's why he gets it. That's why he never plays a full season. So, yeah, I see what you're saying with the trap game. I'm not buying it just because I think, not everybody is settled in there. The players are still learning how to play with Stafford. Stafford's still learning how to play a game under McVay, calling it. I think there's too much for them to figure out to fall asleep at the wheel here in week 2.
And how about this one? Frank Reich in coaching the Colts. After a double-digit loss, he has won 8 out of 9 games. So they rebound nicely after they get humiliated. And next week, they're at Tennessee. So, if Tennessee and Indianapolis lose, which they could, that could be some matchup of the 2 favorites in the division at 0-2.
Trying to catch the division leading Houston.
That's right. New England and the Jets, not much to talk about here, except you got the battle of the rookie first-round draft picks. The Jets are just they're already a banged-up team. I love that. Anyway, it's the home opener for Salah. The fans are going to go crazy, no doubt about it. I'm actually taking the points in the game. I think this is going to be, I kind of think this is going to be the type of game it was for both of these teams last week. I think it's going to be like a 17-14, 20-17 type game. New England probably wins.
What's that stat about Belichick against rookie quarterbacks? I think he's 21-6 or something.
I'm surprised it's not like 21-1.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. I believe Mark Sanchez and Geno Smith both beat Bill Belichick as rookie quarterbacks.
Wow,
so
that's
you're
crazy.
up, Zach.
Was that with was Ryan coaching both?
Yeah.
It's...
You're up, Zach. Your turn.
New England is one of your top picks, right?
Yes, they are. They're
4-star?
4-star, yep.
Okay, San Francisco and Philly. We're going to find out how for real Philly is because I watched that game, and that was another ugly game. The good thing is for Philly, though, is that Hurts sure looked a lot better than he has so far in his career, so that's a really good sign. But again, it's Atlanta. This is a major step up in competition against San Francisco. San Francisco a 3.5-point favorite in this one. Back-to-back road games for San Francisco. The Eagles, don't forget, they upset San Francisco last year in San Francisco as an 8-point road dog. What do you think about this one?
I honestly, I was so down on Philly that it would be hard for me to go all the way after 1 week to picking them to beat San Francisco. So I'm not going to do it. But just the thought that it has crossed my mind speaks to how impressive they were against Atlanta. I still think that was more Atlanta's terrible, as I told you weeks ago.
Yes, I was very wrong about Atlanta. That was ugly.
Atlanta's terrible, so I still think that's more it than I think Philly is good. But if you're good on both lines, you can be a good team, and Philly's good on both lines. So that could give San Francisco some trouble.
You know what I was? Well, first of all, Mostert's out, and I don't. Look, they're going to miss him because he's their best back. But the Niners usually plug, and they're okay. It's the offensive line, it's the system. And I say that because the Eagles, Atlanta actually did a pretty good job running the football, all things considered. It's early in the game. It's just that they couldn't finish. And I'll tell you, the biggest disappointment for me wasn't that I think Atlanta's great, talented, and that's the reason I thought they might be a sleeper. It's because I didn't expect Matt Ryan, who I thought, and I think, might be done. It's possible because he was terrible in that game. And that's what surprised me. I didn't think he was going to disappear like that. And maybe he has. Maybe it's a game. But if he's done, that is a major screw up by the organization because they said, we don't going to pick any of these quarterbacks. We're going to trust Matt Ryan for the next couple of years, 1 year at least. And they passed on everybody. That doesn't mean they can't go back into the draft as a 2-win team and pick Sam Howell.
Yeah.
But, Matt Ryan doesn't look good.
No, and I think that's what's going to happen. I think they're going to go back into the draft as a 2-week team and pick whoever the, flavor of the year quarterback is. But, no, I think Matt Ryan is done in Atlanta. Does that mean he couldn't have a Phillip Rivers-like one season somewhere next year? No. But I think he's done in Atlanta.
Yeah, he better improve in Atlanta because, again, that was just some pretty bad passing. I think that, look, it's 1 week. I'm willing to give him a mulligan for at least another week. Okay, Cincinnati and Chicago, not much to talk quickly about here, except the fact that you are taking the Bengals in this one. I'm taking Chicago. It's Andy Dalton against his former team. So that's the storyline there.
Didn't he face his former team last year? I think he did, yeah.
For the Cowboys?
Yeah, he faced so I don't know. I don't know.
Did the Cowboys win?
I think so. Yeah, I think he did. Yeah. I think he won there last year as a Cowboys quarterback. We should check that, but I'm pretty sure that happened. I like the Bengals in this game. Look, the Bengals have a better roster than you think, The problem is they're in a grueling, tough division, so they're going to come in fourth place. But any game where it's two non-playoff teams, I might pick the Bengals, especially if they're a dog, because they have a better roster than you think, and they have a really good quarterback. I mean, if they can block for him, and God, God, do I wish they picked Penei Sewell. I know Jamar Chase had a good game week 1.
Yeah, that was nice to see. Yeah.
Do I wish they picked Penei Sewell, because I think they'd be out. The future would be brighter with Sewell than it is with Chase.
Yeah, that was good to see after the poor preseason. But as we also mentioned, Joe Burrow wasn't playing. Yeah. So they got this connection, the two of them, and it's good to see if you're a Bengal fan. And you know what? Old Bengals, you have to think of it this way if you're a Bengal fan, optimistic. The old Bengal team would have fumbled the football in overtime, and the opposition would have kicked the field goal. Dalvin Cook fumbles the football, and then the Bengals kick the field goal to win in overtime. So, and by the way, Zach Taylor, before last week's game, was 1-12-1 in one-score games.
He took a chance there. That on overtime, he could have played for the tie, and that was a kind of a gutsy play call they had there to Umazuda or whatever the tight end's name is. That was kind of a gutsy call. I give them credit. They're a team that knows they're undermatched, and they're playing, and they have some aggressiveness to them. I like that.
And Dallas beat up on the Bengals last year, 30-7 in Cincinnati.
Yeah. So. Here's what I'll say that from week 1. There are two ways bad teams can play. And I thought the Bengals were aggressive. They played like we're not as good as the Vikings, so we've got to take some chances to win. And I thought the Giants played like we're not as good as Denver, so to beat them, we can't make one mistake. We're going to play clean and conservative, and we're going to play like where one mistake will kill us. So we're not going to make any mistakes. And the Giants lost playing like that, and Cincinnati won playing the other way.
Denver, speaking of the Broncos, they're at Jacksonville, and Ryan is going to try and get his revenge this week because the Denver Broncos are my 5-star pick of the week. Ryan has one upset this week. I have 4. Ryan has 1. His one upset pick? Jacksonville. So he's going up against me. Reverse from last week. Broncos 6-point favorite. Jacksonville plus 220 on the money line. And Jacksonville had a 16-game losing streak. So Ryan is trying to break the 16-game losing streak. I was after what Denver, we both liked Denver last week. Nothing that Denver did last week changes my mind about how I feel about Denver. So I really remember I have them as a playoff team. I know it's early, but Bridgewater looked exactly the way you want Bridgewater to look if you are a Denver fan or you're somebody that believes in Denver. And now you have Vic Fangio. You talk about Belichick against Wilson. We got Vic Fangio going up against Trevor Lawrence. That's not going to be easy for Lawrence.
Look, the Jaguars were the worst team in the NFL in week 1 by a mile. And I just don't believe that can happen when you have a rookie quarterback as good as Trevor Lawrence, and you have a coach who's won as much as Urban Meyer. I just don't believe they're the worst team in the NFL. I don't believe it. And Denver, I mean, I watched the game. They were much better than the Giants, but they turned the ball over at the 4-yard line. They dropped a touchdown pass in the end zone. And somebody could say, oh, well, that just shows you how good they are. They could have won the game 40-14 or something. To me, they're a team that makes a lot of mistakes. And they're a young team, and young teams make a lot of mistakes. They have a lot of young playmakers. So
I picked up that guy who dropped the pass in our fantasy league.
KJ Hamler.
Yeah. That's because I have Jerry Jeudy, and he's out now for like a month. So
to me, it just seems like we were talking about letdown games a couple minutes ago with the Rams. This seems like a letdown game. A team that like believes, oh wow, we dominated the Giants. These Jaguars are, the worst team in the NFL. Let's go out and have some fun, and they get caught napping. That's just kind of what it feels like to me.
Yeah, Denver. I mean, look, you're talking about a West Coast team, East Coast Giants. I would assume they went back home, and then they go back to Jacksonville. Those are long trips early in the season. Not easy to do, especially look. Russell Wilson's not their quarterback, he's the one that, as we said last week, East Coast, he wins those games. But not to say Teddy Bridgewater isn't awesome. He's 22-3 against the spread on the road as a quarterback. It's just amazing. All right, Houston and Cleveland, the Browns. Ugh. I had the Browns too last week with that money line upset, and I can't believe they lost that game. They're a 12.5-point favorite against Houston. Part of me thinks either they're gonna take everything out on Houston, and Houston had the nice win, they got it over with, they're gonna go 2-14 or whatever, or there's a hangover, and this is gonna be an ugly Cleveland win. I don't know what to think. That's why I stood away from it.
I picked it. It's one of my picks. I think it's the first. I think Cleveland's just gonna pound them into the ground, like 35-0 kind of game. It's a really good team who's frustrated that they can't beat Kansas City. They punter dropped the ball.
Oh,
so
that's just awful. That's awful.
They're one of my Super Bowl teams. So you're not going to the Super Bowl if you fall asleep against Houston. So I think they're going to flex some muscle here.
The other thing too, though, not the punt, but and not even the Tyreek Hill touchdown pass, because that's going to happen. There's nothing you could do. They're awesome. But it was, even when they had the chance, Baker didn't get it done. He throws an interception at the end. Come on. At least you want to show some resiliency that I am going to march down the field against that team, and I am going to lead this team to victory, and he couldn't do it.
Yeah. Their rushing attack is so good, though.
Yeah. Yeah. And that just saved Baker Mayfield's career. Yeah. He's a good quarterback, but he's not an elite quarterback. He needs that, and that's the thing. That's the only thing I'm worried about with Cleveland is, can Baker Mayfield win these types of games? And he's going to have more opportunities. Saints and Carolina. Now, last week we both had one team in our top picks that we agreed upon. That was Denver, and we got them both. This is another one. You've got New Orleans as your 5-star. I have New Orleans as my 4-star. Saints are a 3-point favorite in this one at Carolina. I watched the Carolina game, obviously, and was not impressed. Carolina's offensive line is not very good. Sam Darnold, sorry, he's the same Sam Darnold. He ain't ever changing. And you just have to be impressed with the Saints. Look, they're not going to win those games every week. But they're a much better team than Carolina.
They're a much better team than Carolina. I was stunned how they beat up on Green Bay. Stunned. I thought they were good. They're like 500 good. I didn't think they'd fall apart, but that stunned me. I saw some stat today. I don't know what it is off the top of my head, but there's something like 9-1 in their last 10 games without Drew Brees, which tells you that Sean Payton,
sure,
he got a lot of credit. Drew Brees took a lot of credit. They got a lot of credit each other the first 10 years they were together. But Drew Brees wasn't the same player there at the end. If the Saints are still winning, that speaks volumes for Sean Payton. I don't expect Jameis Winston to light it up for 5 more touchdowns, but I do expect him to play well. And I'm not as down on Darnold as you sound, but this is a tall task for Carolina.
Also, they dominate some of these stats and trends. New Orleans, let's remember, they swept the division last year for the first time in their career, in their history. They have covered 6 straight division road games. They have covered 12 straight after they have an upset victory. And they're 16-6 against the spread their last 22 as a road favorite. Did you know that Jameis Winston's 148 yards passing was the fewest in NFL history for a quarterback that threw 5 touchdowns in a game?
I did not know that. That's interesting.
That is crazy. 148 yards, 5 touchdowns.
Yeah.
All right. Next, Las Vegas. Yeah. And Pittsburgh. Steelers favorite by 5.5. I'm doubling down on Vegas. I don't, trust me, I don't like Vegas as much as I liked them last week. This is more of, I'm getting 2-1. I'm going to roll it just one more time. Why not? Pittsburgh, I was completely unimpressed. The defense came up big when they needed to. They're well coached. They hung in the game. but Pittsburgh's got a way to go themselves. That they were outgained 371 to 252. So it wasn't like Pittsburgh had a really good, convincing victory over Buffalo, but it's still, anytime you go to Buffalo and win, it's impressive. These are old-time historical rivals. It's nice to see them back together again. But like I said, I just figured I'm going to go ahead and roll the dice with Vegas one more time. But I probably outdid myself here.
Look, Vegas's pass rush was awesome. They were awesome against Baltimore, and they haven't been awesome since they traded Khalil Mack. If they're going to be awesome again against the Steelers line, then the Steelers are in trouble because Ben Roethlisberger doesn't move as well as he used to move. Obviously, not I just I'm not sold on their ground game yet. I know everybody loves. Why can't I think of the guys in the rookie Najee Harris? I know everybody loves Najee Harris. I'm just not sold that their offensive line is what we expect from a Steelers offensive line.
Yep.
I don't think the Raiders will win because I don't think the Raiders are one of those teams that's good enough to beat the Steelers and the Ravens back-to-back games, to come east and win in Pittsburgh. I just
on a short week.
Yeah, I just don't think they're there yet.
East Coast time zone. Yeah.
I don't think they're there yet, but I think so. I'd pick another Steelers ugly win. Won't be surprised if they're outgained. Won't be surprised if they're losing into the fourth quarter. But it's one of those games where I think the Steelers just are one of those teams that always Mike Tomlin finds a way to win football games. I think that's probably what'll happen.
Yeah, because the Raiders again made a couple of dumb. I mean, they had the ball right there at the 1 yard line. That game should have been over. And they still found a way to give the ball back to Baltimore. When they gave the ball back to Baltimore, I can't believe this. They're going to lose. It's over. Yeah. I'm sure everybody thought that the game was over, that Baltimore was going to win.
Yep, I certainly did.
I just couldn't believe that they got the ball back. But and just keep in mind too, the Raiders last year, you probably don't even remember this. Maybe you do, but they beat both Kansas City and Cleveland on the road last year.
Yep.
Okay. Next up, Atlanta, Tampa Bay. And the only reason that I considered taking Atlanta into 13 points is because Tampa Bay and Bruce Arians historically are not very good home favorite teams. And we saw that last week against Dallas. And it's a lot of points. And Atlanta, that's why I said I'm going to give Matt Ryan a mulligan. I'm going to give him one shot to turn the corner. But, sure, it's a possibility this game is a complete annihilation. That could definitely happen. Tampa Bay at the Rams next week. And then after that, in 2 weeks, Tampa Bay at New England.
Here's what I'll say about last year. You know this. Last year, so the Post, we do a bettor's guide. And last year, we do 3 best bets every week, which are pretty much the same as what we do here with 5-star, 4-star, 3-star. And after 5 weeks, I was 15-0.
Yes, remember that?
In my best bets. I believe I was the first person ever at the New York Post in all these years, like 30 years, to go 15-0 on best bets. And people ask me how I did it. And basically, no spread scares me. If a good team is playing a bad team, I'm not going to say, oh, maybe the Falcons can backdoor cover this. There is no spread. This spread could be 20. And I would pick Tampa Bay to beat Atlanta. I just don't get scared. And look, I could be wrong. I'm not a genius. I got some of those games wrong after the 15-0 start, but I generally believe good teams beat up bad teams. You very rarely do you see a bad team hang around. It just feels to me like a game that is, something like 35-10.
Well, I'm going to give you, remember I told you before, I referenced the fact that in the NFL, you win, you cover. So here was last year. This is just an example. Last year, in the regular season, teams that won and covered were 196, 56, and 4. So that's like winning like 11-3, 10-4, 12-2 every week. Which, again, tells you don't worry about the point spread. If you like the team and think they're going to win, whether they're a dog or a heavy favorite, take the team.
Yep.
It's the way it goes. So I'm very happy to hear that you use that, because not a lot of people do. Everybody's so worried about the spread, the line. It's overrated.
Now look, I worry about it if we're talking mediocre teams, like Pittsburgh, Vegas. That spread scares me a little. But when we're talking good team, bad team, I don't ever worry about the big number.
Now we get to the 4 o'clock games, and Minnesota, Arizona. There are some good ones. Minnesota, Arizona. Now this is a game that we disagree on. Another game we disagree on here. You have Arizona as a 3-star, and I have Minnesota as one of my upset specials. This is going to be look. This is a huge game for Minnesota. They lose this game, they got Seattle next week. I don't know what to make of Minnesota just yet. I'm still going to give them. I'm going to give them like a mulligan that they're still kind of the team. Because remember, you said it in the preseason. You kind of liked Minnesota. You thought they were going to rebound after what happened last year, and I kind of think that's possible. That's why if they're that team, I think they could win this football game, because historically, Arizona is not very good in this kind of situation, especially recently with Cliff Kingsbury. When they're home and they're the favorite and they're supposed to win, they don't do a very good job of that. So if they've turned the corner, it's possible. If they turn the corner, take care of business and beat Minnesota on Sunday.
Two things. One, I don't ever really expect Kyler Murray to play a 17-game season. His body worries me as he gets banged up. But early in the season, I won't be surprised. For as long as he plays, 5 years or 15, I won't be surprised if Arizona gets off to a good start every year, because a healthy Kyler Murray is a dynamo. I mean, he is unbelievable. So for as long as he doesn't have any nagging injuries, I'm going to pick him. And I also think there's an urgency in this division. Like, that division is very much like every single game. There's no slow.
Crazy. Are you sure they can't go all to the playoffs?
Yeah, if you have a slow start in that division, you're buried. So I think Cliff Kingsbury will hammer that home to his team this week, that, we don't want to miss the playoffs because we lost in week 2 to the Vikings. So to me, I mean, this could be, you're talking about all 4 making the playoffs. This could be a week game we're looking back at in January as like a tiebreaker kind of game for a wild card. So to me, I think Arizona beats them up probably by 7-8 points.
Yeah, that's the point. Is if they've turned the corner, they're the playoff team, not Minnesota. Win this game. So we'll see how it goes there, but it should be entertaining at least to watch and see if again they have turned the corner. I'm sure the fans are going to be up. And oh, by the way, is Chandler Jones not the most underrated defender in the NFL?
Yeah, I think he is. I think you're right. I think he absolutely is.
That guy is a monster. And that was a big loss for them last year, too, because he got hurt. Now he's there with J.J. Watt helping him out. That's one game, but apparently, you have J.J. Watt on one side. You can't double everybody. So that could be huge.
Cleveland's hoping for with Clowney and Garrett.
Yep. All right. Also at 4 o'clock, another good one, Tennessee and Seattle. Seattle favored by 5.5. This is going to be another upset play for me. And basically, I'm looking at this as a good Tennessee team, sort of like Indianapolis, but, tough opponent they got to play, but a good Tennessee team that I expect will play a lot better than what we saw last week. I saw it last year. They had that dud of a game, I remember, at home. I forget who it was against. And then the very next week, they went to Baltimore and beat Baltimore when nobody thought they were going to beat them. So they've got that kind of moxie. Remember, they went to Baltimore and won in the playoffs a couple years ago when nobody thought they were going to. So these are the types of games that I think Tennessee is at their best.
I think Vrabel's cachet as a Super Bowl winning player that a lot of his players remember, not a guy who played in the 60s, a guy that a lot of his players, I think, really carries weight in that locker room from what I've heard around the league. So he can criticize his guys, where some other
like
coaches,
Julio Jones?
Yeah, some other coaches, you get criticized and you say, I've been to Pro Bowls. I make millions of dollars. You played at Division III East Stroudsburg. What are you talking about? No, I think he carries some weight there. So, yeah, I think the team will respond to his criticism. But I think Seattle's a playoff team. I think Seattle, the game's in Seattle, right?
Oh yeah, that place is going to be
That place is gonna
crazy.
be rocking. I can't remember if they had fans there or not last year, but they certainly didn't have.
No
They certainly
fans.
didn't have their full fans. So to me, that really, I'm giving this game to the fans. Basically, there's no way Seattle loves their fans more than any team in the NFL. There's no way they let those people down.
I told you it could be 0-2 Tennessee against 0-2 the Colts next week. Okay. The other 4:00 game is also interesting. Dallas and the Chargers. And we're going to find out if Dallas is for real after the game against Tampa Bay. I believe they are offensively, and I also believe they are defensively, especially with Lawrence now out for a couple of months. So, look, this is going to be what, 38-35?
Wow, you took the words out of my mouth. What's the over?
I don't know. I don't look at the totals.
Oh, that's what I'm dying to know. Look that up while I talk. I would tell you to take the over in this game, almost like I would tell you I don't care what the Tampa Bay Atlanta point spread is. I don't really care what the over is. This game screams to me shootout, fourth quarter, last team with the ball wins. As I was saying last week on this show, I think Chargers could be their year, and here we go. Derwin James is on the injury report today.
Ah, you kidding me?
No, look, I mean,
just on the report.
Just on the report, yeah.
Okay.
Dallas has a knack for losing close games, so I will go with the Chargers, in a 3-point kind of game here. But like you said, 41-38 wouldn't surprise me at all.
55.
Over.
I agree.
2 thumbs over.
Yes. Chargers, and you probably know this, just again, not statistically, but just because we've seen enough of these Charger games. 3-10 against the spread. Their last 13 as a home favorite. They're not very good at home in these roles. They are playing in the new home stadium. I'm going to be very interested. I mean, do you think there's going to be like half Dallas Cowboy fans?
Yeah, more than half. I think that's an under. Yeah.
Oh boy. All right, we'll see how that works out. Next, by the way, Dallas is going to be hosting Philadelphia next Monday night.
Yeah. Let's run through them again, Greg, so people have them.
What's that?
Let's run through them again so people have them. My 5-star pick was New Orleans. My 4-star pick was New England. My 3-star pick was Arizona. My upset pick was Jacksonville. My other picks were Cincinnati, Tampa, Cleveland, and I'm throwing one on the top here for you to add to our.
Oh, adding one.
I didn't realize we could pick the Thursday night game because I wasn't sure when you were posting this.
Well, that's because we weren't expecting to do Thursday night shows.
Let's add Washington to the other picks for me.
You're going to take Washington minus the 3.
Yep.
Okay, I'm going to add that one. And that's a good time for me to remind everybody that at the end of the show, so if you're interested, when the show's over, you can see I'm going to be posting up all of the information, all of our picks and everything, so people can track exactly what we're doing. Okay, so I'll add that on the list. Now, the other primetime games, Kansas City and Baltimore on Sunday Night Football. I just couldn't, I'm looking at this game and I go, if I was thinking of taking the game, I was going to take Baltimore. Because of the fact that, hey, you know what? I could end up getting plus 170 on the money line. But I stayed away from it. Kansas City's beaten them the last 3 years. Psychologically, I think they're in Baltimore's head. And so I kind of just think that this is one of those games I'd just rather watch.
Mm-hmm. I think Kansas City looks at Baltimore as a direct threat to their throne. So they take Baltimore very, very seriously. Mahomes and Jackson, that's obviously a rivalry. I would think Carolina's going to hold the edge here. Just kind of like Cleveland melted down against Kansas City. I kind of expect Baltimore will do that too in the fourth quarter. The coach is there. Steve Spagnuolo is one of the best defensive minds in the NFL. I don't see a way where he lets Lamar Jackson just do whatever Lamar Jackson wants to do.
Now here's some very interesting stats, and you saw them watching the Kansas City Cleveland game. Patrick Mahomes is 11-0 in September, with a 35-0 touchdown to interception ratio. It's like I can't even compute that. John Harbaugh, the coach of Baltimore. 19-4 in September. At home, straight up. Not bad. So you got those two colliding in this big September matchup. Kansas City beat Baltimore last year in week 3 as a 3-point road dog. And if you remember that game, Kansas City won that game pretty comfortably by a couple of touchdowns. So, and remember we talked about this last week and it continued. Since the start of 2020, Kansas City in one-score games is 10-0. But they're 0-9-1 against the spread. Is that amazing?
That's crazy.
All right. And we just talked about don't worry about the spread. And that's a team that says, "Oh, really?"
Yeah.
Don't just take Kansas City and don't worry about the points. It just doesn't work with them. And then finally the Monday night game, Detroit at Green Bay. Detroit almost got you last week with that comeback. You had San Francisco minus the 7. There were people who had San Francisco minus 8. That line went up on game day. Some might have lost if it went up to 9. Imagine being up as big as that in the NFL and losing the spread. And Detroit had the ball at the 25-yard line at the end of the game. It's amazing. So look, good for Detroit that they didn't give up. That's Campbell, through and through. It's good that they're already, that to have that kind of attitude. But Aaron Rodgers, when they get beat up one week, he responds big time the next week, including at Lambeau Field.
I don't need any better stat to tell me that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and by the way, I bet you didn't know this. Detroit 4-4 straight up, 7-1 against the spread. Their last 8 versus the Packers.
But if I'm a Detroit fan, I like that week 1 game. I like that team has adapted. Dan Campbell's that was biting kneecaps, being down 25 and rallying like that.
Yep.
So they're a team that going forward, I'm going to think twice about picking against. I can tell you that.
Well, we'll see what happens this week. So this is a big because look, is that just a 1 week thing, or is there something going on in Green Bay?
Put it this way, Greg. I no problem picking Tampa Bay to beat Atlanta. No problem picking Cleveland to beat Houston, and I stayed away from Green Bay, Detroit.
And you're the big Green Bay guy.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll see. Everybody thought last year Green Bay was going to implode. Maybe it's this year. Maybe. All right, Ryan, appreciate it. We'll do this again next week. And also don't forget, the next time we'll be on the air will probably be when we talk Rutgers football early next week. So enjoy all the games. Safe trip down to Washington, covering the game. You can check out New York Post. Ryan will be covering the game there for his articles. And also good luck with Rutgers against Delaware, because I don't want to talk about a loss to Delaware next week. Nothing?
I can't. I don't root for Rutgers. I watch the games. I don't wish them luck. I think they could lose the game because I've seen them lose to 1AA teams before. But it would be quite the. I have people not coming to my son's birthday party because they're going to the Rutgers Delaware game.
Oh, that's something else. Delaware.
2 years ago, that would have never happened. You couldn't give Rutgers tickets.
That's
away.
true.
Now people don't want to give up the Rutgers Delaware tickets. So it tells you the program's headed in the right direction. I'll tell you that.
Well, next week we're talking about the Michigan game. So I certainly hope it's with a 3-0 record. All right, Ryan. Again, have a great week. We'll talk to you next time.
See ya.